welcome to the next episode of the Beach Court Podcast. It feels like it's been a while because we released our last episode a little bit early, but we're back and better than ever. This episode's going to be a good one. We're going to be joined by PJ from the Shuffle Squad. He's been hinting at growing the Pokemon trading card game community more than ever with some upcoming new news. We haven't heard the news yet, so we're going to hear it for the first time from him live. So stay tuned as we hear the news for the first time and get our live reactions. We're also going to dig a little bit into Shrouded Fable because the set's coming up for Worlds. It's a mini set that's going to be legal for the World Championships as of now. We're going to break down what cards and we think will have a kind of a large impact on the game, what sleeper cards need to be explored more, and talk about a product delay for that product coming out that might have an impact on the World Championships. I'm your host, Eric Ridgway, and I'm joined as always by Parker Greenwald and Max Corcoran. Thanks for joining, guys. How has your last few weeks been?
Been pretty good. Went out of town for a bit, then 4th of July, so missed out on a week of Pokemon, but came back, had a strong finish at Nakama with my Okie Dogie deck, and then
Yeah.
the next day I just couldn't play the game the first 2 rounds, and I was like, see ya. But yeah, it's pretty good. I'm repping some beach attire. I was at the beach today, repping the beach court.
Hey,
Yeah.
yo.
Some kind of stretch of the imagination.
Nice. It was a good day for the beach. It was nice weather for the most part
It
today.
was hot too.
Yeah. Yeah, in Florida, it does be a little hot. Yeah, I mean, you probably should have stayed, man. An X2 made cut. You could have made cut. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. You never know.
Anyways, it's kind of cool to see your deck. Like we know you've had it for a while. People are starting to play it to cups. Maybe not because they found it from you, but just because of wherever they found it. We see it on, the Japan list. It's starting to get some traction.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, you kind of talked about it first, and so I got to give you your kudos there. Maddox, what about you? What's you kind of been up to lately?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been nice to have a little break from a lot of traveling. I did go to Charlotte 4th of July weekend for my other hobby, which is Humans versus Zombies. Actually ran into someone else in the community I know out in Georgia. So kind of find it cool to see the hobbies collide and worlds mix there. But had a nice time in Charlotte, and then kind of getting back to it for Pokemon. Eric drove me to a cup, and a couple of us to a cup on Saturday. So went out there. Decided in the car to play Ancient Box because I thought it'd be fun, and the games I lost were the games where I made some mistakes, and then also it's Zard and Guardy, which are kind of tricky. Guardy's a matchup with Ancient Box. Is like, oh, okay, like theoretically you can just like run them off the table, but also if they can like stick you with like an Iona or a Stamp and Counter Catcher and just make your day really difficult, it's something. And I think even nowadays the new list with playing like Double Monkey Dory, they can set up some like really interesting plays to like take multiple knockouts at once type of thing. But
Yeah.
uh but yeah, bubbled out a cut there, but it was still a good time. And yeah, just like getting back into it. We're back in local season, so getting ready for cups and challenges and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, the cups and challenges grind has started. I know you really didn't want to go, but thanks for joining in the car. It's not that far. It was only 3 hours. It wasn't, we're no Poke Duels over here doing 15-hour drives.
And
But
Pokeduels is living life. Props
yeah,
props to him.
yeah, he really is. I mean, I throw shade because I'm jealous. That's really all that is. But yeah, we went down to Tampa, played in the cup myself. I really just like, it's hard when you're going somewhere else to kind of predict what their local scene is going to be like. But like lately, it seems like Lugia had been falling off a little bit, and that like people might not want to play it at a best of one cup. You gotta be fast, aggressive. So I was expecting decks like Regidrago, Raging Bolt, some Guardy, some Lost Box, things like that. Um, and I've been exploring with like the list that like Azul was playing, the Turbo Roaring Moon list with the Energy Switch and Trekking Shoes, two cards I usually don't like playing in any decks. But I was like, I'll give it a shot, and it felt pretty good. I definitely felt like the deck was missing the Iono, so I made a cut for an Iono. And took it down there, and I won round one against a friend that drove in the car. Gavin, our friend in the car, had to play me round one and then Maddox round two. And also had some like he went draw pass versus me, and I'm playing Turbo Roaring Moon. So he had some unfortunate draws, but I didn't get rewarded for it because the next round I got paired into a Lugia, and there was only two or three of them in the room, so I lost that one. And then I got paired against a really good Guardy player, and we had a super close set. Lost that one. And then the next round also got paired into another Lugia. So I was like, all right, cool. Like Lugia for like Turbo Roaring Moon is like almost unwinnable. Just because like 4 miss energy goes pretty hard. But that's fine. I was able to go drop and go next door and have a couple of celebration beverages. And and wait for Maddox to see if he makes cup. But yeah, the cup season has started. We've got a lot of challenges coming up here in Jacksonville, and I know we've got some cups on the book in September for a double cup weekend here in Jacksonville. So those of you that are listening that are local to us, stay tuned for those dates. I don't are they ironed out fully yet, Parker?
They're like 98%.
Okay. Do you want to
News
share
coming soon.
those?
Yeah. So it'll be the weekend after Baltimore. So
Weekend after
September
Baltimore.
21st and 22nd.
Okay. So weekend after Baltimore, double cup weekend here at Nakama and cool stuff in Jacksonville, Florida. If you want to come out, we'd love to have you. But I think that's all we got for intro. You guys got anything else you want to talk about before we hop into the PJ?
Just oh yeah. I was
was
gonna
gonna
say,
say-
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
go ahead.
me, you, me, you. No, I was gonna
No,
say, no, shout out Justin Turner, who was the Guardy player that both Eric and I played against at the
Yeah.
Cup. I don't know how you did. I know he made cut. It was kind of funny in our game. It was like I was like kind of in like a slow spot, and then I geared into a boss, and he was like, "Oh, you go boss my Guardy here," and I was like, I kind of think that's a trap. I was like, I think if I do this, then like we play enough, we kind of get out. So we're kind of like talking it through. So I was like, let's explore this line. So it was kind of fun like chatting with him like during some of the matchup. But ultimately a good opponent. And someone will be seeing in Hawaii, so it'll be good to see him. So quick shout out to him.
Yeah.
Parker.
I was just gonna say also don't forget Gamer Corp
Oh,
and
right.
their cup on the 8th of September, I believe.
Oh.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. So that's the weekend before Baltimore.
For Baltimore.
So we got cups in Jacksonville the weekend before Baltimore and the weekend after. Yes, that would be
Yeah.
pretty exciting. Come on up.
Yeah.
Have
So
a good time.
play your Baltimore list to Gamers Core on the 8th. Then go to Baltimore, and then the weekend after for double cup weekend, it's really easy. You can either pick Parker's first place Baltimore list, Eric's second place Baltimore list, or Maddox's third place Baltimore list. Whichever one of those you want to use, all will be good picks.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for hyping us up, Max. For Baltimore's gonna be a good time.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well that's let's jump into our interview with PJ from the Shuffle Squad. So next up we'll have PJ on to talk about some really awesome, exciting news. Okay, welcome back to the Beach Court podcast. We're joined by PJ from the Shuffle Squad. He's got some awesome news to unveil to us. But before you do, PJ, how's life in Canada, man?
Well, I'm in New York, but I am close to Canada, so it's
Okay,
very
true,
easily confused.
true.
But you know, I'm in a weird spot in New York State where I'm like 4 hours drive from Toronto,
Uh-huh.
and I'm also 4 hours drive from New York City. So like right smack dab in the middle, what I like to call Pokemon Desert. Not a whole
Pokemon
happening over
Desert.
here.
You don't have any
Uh,
local scenes you can go to there.
not a whole lot. There's one within walking distance from my house, so that's kind of cool. But aside from that, you know, I'm traveling an hour, 2, 3, 4 to get to local stuff.
Well, we
But
went to a cup 3 hours away last weekend,
there you
so
go.
we feel your pain.
You got to do it. You see, the championship structure didn't stop you,
That
right?
it can't. No, it can't. We all have to grow and adapt. And speaking of growing, you kind of dropped a tweet on us this last week or
Ooh, I
two
did. I
about,
did.
growing the Pokemon trading card game community bigger than ever, bigger than the
Mhm.
structure news.
Nice.
The floor is yours, man. Let's hear
Cool.
it.
All right. Well, kind of back towards LA regionals, we were approached by a larger company. I kind of brushed it off, you know, we're the Shuffle Squad, so we get a lot of offers on people knocking on our doors, you know what I mean? You know, we have lovely sponsors currently like Advanced GG, we've got Ultimate Guard, we've got PTCGL Store, you know, the list goes on, which they're all fantastic opportunities that have helped the people that are on the Shuffle Squad grow and play more events and get out and talk to people. But this one was a little bit different. I kind of brushed off like that. There's no way this is happening to me, somebody who isn't necessarily a pro player, but you know, I've always kind of put Shuffle Squad on that pedestal that we want to grow the community. We want to make things bigger than ever. We want to make the game bigger than it ever was. And obviously, over the past couple of years, out of COVID, that has happened for the game. Whether it was, because of the Shuffle Squad on some parts or not, we are growing into an esport. So I hate really just dragging this out, but I want to come out and say it. That we were approached by GameStop Incorporated to sponsor TSS and have a partnership that we grow the game again bigger than it's ever grown. This is the first national brand that has reached out to a Pokemon company. It's bigger than any card store, any sponsor that sponsors the products. And GameStop really enjoys what we do. What we do for the community. The things that we do, we've run countless giveaways. We're running the late night series online that's free to play, the biggest online series. And they see that and they respect it. And what GameStop eventually wants to do for us is to, create that atmosphere where Pokemon players can play for things that aren't necessarily the championship series. We're looking at getting Pokemon in GameStop stores, and not to take away things from local game stores, because they actually want to grow that community, which is fantastic. And I love that, because when we were in talks about it, they said, we're not doing this to take business away. We just want to bring some focus, because TCG is just as big as the esports community now. And it never was before, but here we are. And their conversation was, why not reach out to the world's biggest team or most well-known team in the TCG and have you guys be part of our family? And that, I thought, was just absolutely mind-blowing, to have somebody say these things to me, that, they have their own corporate CEO. We're in talks with a person that's literally right underneath them, and all of our answers go to the CEO of GameStop. Motion pictures have been created in surrounding GameStop. You probably have all been into a GameStop before.
Oh,
there are Pokemon cards, and they're actually driving that side of the business, where they're also offering trade-ins for, PSA graded cards or any sort of graded cards. And you could use that towards video games. And now vice versa, you'll be able to trade in some video games and get some Pokemon cards. And again, TSS is going to be their brand representing that. And we're going to be making live appearances in the stores, and we're going to be, doing more community focused events that might not even be in a GameStop, but something that GameStop is helping us get towards. And that's kind of always been the idea of Shuffle Squad. We always wanted to have our own tournament circuit. Coming out of the pandemic, we know that the prizing structure didn't necessarily change, and then eventually it did, which props to Pokemon or TPCI for doing that. And you are growing things, and it's great. But now it's kind of like the grassroots side of things, where we see from bigger companies like Nintendo kind of branch out, and we are the first ones to be doing this. So for me, I think this is the coolest thing ever. But I'd love to give some time for you guys to ask some questions about it.
yeah, that's crazy news.
Yeah, I just mean, first off, right? Like, GameStop, and at least for me, right? It was before a time of online video games, being always a video game enjoyer. It's always going to GameStop. Oh, midnight release to pick up the new copy of the game.
Yeah.
I remember like bringing my copy of Pokemon Diamond to like a GameStop for like to play Pokemon Battle Revolution in a tournament. Like a winner gets a copy of the game, like stuff like that. Like right when it comes out. But now that I've like dived more into TCG, and really just people will go in there to buy cards, and
Right.
GameStop again. I know that like a lot of these GameStops will still have to be probably supported by like the local players and the local, Pokemon professors and things like that to like run these tournaments, things like that. But to have the support of a massive brand like that with locations all over the place, really just putting more eyes on the hobby. I mean, I just feel that it's an absolute win.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that, between us and GameStop, our idea for this is to bridge that gap between, we all know that there's collectors that don't play the game out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we're getting that niche within the niche to start to realize, oh, I can go and trade in my collectible cards, and they're worth something. And now there's a place that I can go, that I can play the card game that I collect the cards for. One more stop other than a local game store that these people are stepping into naturally. And now they see our competitive game in front of them.
Yeah.
Or maybe they play VGC, and they're like, well, I get to play online at home, but now I can go in and, trade in my video game and I can get some Pokemon cards and
Yeah.
maybe I can play at this local GameStop that's probably a little bit closer than my LGS would be, which is, 1-2 hours away.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many cool things you can do there. I mean, it just brings me back to the days of playing Pokemon games at the library, at the public
Right.
library, things like that. And
Yeah.
just picture this, a brand new Pokemon video game coming out.
Mhm.
Hey, the night of that video game, we're gonna have a little friendly Pokemon card tournament to
Right.
celebrate this video game coming out. And we're gonna play that tournament starting at 7. It's gonna last, till midnight, and then you
Right.
get the game, and then you can just play the game, and like you're already in the mode. This is really exciting news. I'm so excited for you and the team. You guys have worked so hard to build this brand. So I just
Yeah.
want to say congratulations.
Well, thank
Hopefully,
you. Thank
this is
you.
kind of a weight off your shoulder. You've probably been holding it for a while. You
Yes.
said
Yes.
Yeah.
since LA, you've been working on this.
Yeah.
But talk about the process, PJ.
Sure.
How does this come from ideation to now getting ready to go live with this? And are there any other kind of like tidbits you can give us of cool stuff coming?
Yeah, I mean, as far as it goes for us, we can't spill all the beans just yet, but we have seen some things, and the process with us is we wanted to be careful because we didn't want to step on the toes of any other business. I'm a huge proponent of small businesses
Yeah,
and small businesses thriving. It's honestly where we built the Shuffle Squad out of. It was me and a couple of people that started the company, and we turned a Magic the Gathering focused LGS into a Pokemon semi-focused store, and it was a place that I could play. I could bring my kids to play, and now I used to play forever ago. Before I got back into the competitive scene, I played during base set, and we all know that the only national brand supporting Pokemon as a hobby back then was Toys R Us, which they're no longer here in the States.
yep,
But that was the last national brand that even touched the game.
yeah. Wow.
So, and this is just bridging that gap all over again for these newer players. And that's something that we really focused on. When we were in talks with GameStop, we're like, this is our idea. If you want us on board, this is kind of where we want to take it. And they see what we can do. If you look back at all of the broadcasts of the major events, you see there's a Shuffle Squad logo at least somewhere in there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, having that cross brand, and Zach jokes around that we'll become the NASCAR of Pokemon or NASCAR spokespeople. We're gonna see that,
Yeah, that makes sense.
we got the jersey on the stream, after EUIC when Alex won, and we just kept rolling with it, right? And now we'll be able to get these brands in there, which could bring more things to Pokemon. We all know that the tournament organizers, the fees and things like that go up for these major events. Pokemon's a little bit more focused on that, so why not try to drive that towards Pokemon? Because all of these other esports, you see, you got the Microsofts and the keyboard companies, so on and so forth. They're putting money towards that circuit to help the game grow.
Yeah.
TCG overall is starting to dwarf major league sports. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but that's another thing, we know that. I see the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, and just having somebody like this, reach out to us. We obviously wanted to be careful, and that was the
Course.
thing. I'll keep going back and talking about it, but we didn't just take this deal and say, "Oh yeah, cool. Look at the check we might get every month." Or
Of course. Yeah.
we're not in it for us on the management side of TSS. We're really in it for the players on our team and the community that
course.
we support. So if they weren't on board with what we were on board with, it wasn't going to work. But I mean, honestly, GameStop has been fantastic with everything that they've brought to us and the ideas that they've had for the community. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're hoping that this opens the floodgates to something bigger and better than we ever thought. My full-time career is in Pokemon now, and here we go. We're just riding this wave together, and that's really where my head's at with everything.
Yeah. Parker and Max, you guys have any questions for PJ?
No, I don't. I think he covered it, like pretty much everything pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the grassroots. You're kind of talking about like the grassroots like tournament stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I guess kind of my mind goes all over the place of like what could possibly be from that. You know,
Yeah.
of
Right.
course, if people, again, if it's something where it says, oh, it's too hard to like target, you know, top 125 in North America, especially with changes, things like that. They say,
Exactly.
oh, well, maybe I can go and win a GameStop state champ. I don't know what it'll be, but like whatever, you know, the TSS GameStop championship, whatever it is, right? So,
Right. And
well,
I
like you know,
mean,
something like that. It's like a cool other thing to shoot for,
right.
and like more competitive events besides the 10 regionals in a year. Like
Right.
that's all good.
Right. Right. And no dad pun related, but that's something that's definitely in the cards for the future of this
Ah.
partnership. So it is something that we are definitely looking forward to grow and adapt, and you'll start to see little things pop up between, GameStop and Shuffle.
Yep.
And they might be right down the street from you. So we'll see how that goes, and the logistics of everything, because it is a longer
Yeah.
process. It's not just a
Yeah.
if anybody's in business, that things like this don't happen overnight.
Right.
But I'm just like, I'm so excited. My wife is excited. We're excited. My family's going to start to travel to do Pokemon events for major events now this season. My son's finally old enough that we can do that. And I mean, to have this in my back pocket to share, not only with the team, but everybody that I'm friends with, just as well as I do. Every guest on this podcast, they're friends that you associate with when you go out to these events. So why
Absolutely.
not put
Yeah.
more, now that we're seeing TPCI just go down to the one North American regionals per month? What if there was a couple other things that you could hang out with your
Mhm.
friends and also win some awesome prizes at? That's kind of where we're at. And then also, the visibility of Pokemon to people who don't necessarily play, not even in store, but online
Yeah.
is something that we're working on too. So, maybe somebody who wouldn't necessarily see us if they're searching for something online, if they're trying to play, something related to GameStop, are now going to be able to see this and like, ooh, there's a team that's sponsored.
Mhm.
What do I do to get in
Yeah.
there? There's some excitement behind that. So that's another thing that's brewing for us. But again, can't leak everything.
Okay.
But you guys get the
Mm.
biggest scoop so far.
So I
There you
have
go.
to
Love
I
it,
have
love it.
to ask the hard questions, and you can
Sure,
just tell me
sure.
no.
Yeah.
A lot of our audience, is those folks that
Mhm.
they're up and coming in the game. They're
Yeah.
learning. They listen to this podcast because they want to learn a little bit about what we think, because we kind of
Yeah.
give our unfiltered opinion on a lot of decks and things on this podcast.
Absolutely.
How does someone can you share any light of what kind of advice you would give to someone that would listen to this podcast and say, hey, I one day want to be on the shuffle squad? If that's an
Right.
aspiration of theirs,
Yeah.
what kind of advice would you give to them?
Absolutely. I mean, somebody that's on the Shuffle Squad has to portray a couple of different, values within the community. Obviously, you want to be a great player. You want to be somebody that's showing progression. Whether you're brand new or you've been playing the game for years, you want to show that you're putting the time into the game to either make it more of your life or make it a better place for people to join that community. We see all these other TCG games where people are leaving the community because of the toxic community surrounding them, or maybe, the cost of the game is a little bit too high. Things like that play a part. I mean, we even see things like Disney's Lorcana start to lose a little bit of steam over the past month or so because they had their grassroots projects that kind of fell through. And where you should want to be as somebody that is part of the Shuffle Squad, or if you aspire to join our smaller niche community or team, is somebody that wants to make it grow in any way, shape, or form that you can. Now, again, content is a huge role with us, because that's basically how we're bringing in these sponsorships, is to have the additional content. So if you've never done content before, whether it's writing or whether it's, streaming, creating videos or things like that, if you like doing it, start doing it more. It's never too late to start. And you could be 50, 60 years old. And if you really love the game, you're going to do it, right? You're going to find a way. And that's really, I wouldn't be here as Shuffle Squad manager if I just didn't try, right? If I just said,
Yeah.
oh yeah, maybe it's a cool idea, I'm not going to push for it. I push for my players every single day. I am there. I am in the Discord messages. I am in the Facebook group chats. I am helping people achieve their goals, right? I'm pushing them to achieve their goals. So if you're somebody that wants to be pushed to that next level, this is the team for you, right? And that's how I look at and talk to everybody aspiring to be on Shuffle. We obviously want to make sure that you've got a good, clean image online, and also in the game, in the community. So those things are important to us. And again, our sponsors see that too. And that's, once we start dabbling a little bit more with this partnership, you'll see that come into the places that you're playing a little bit more. And that's the dream, right? That's, we want to create safe environments. We want to create environments that fuel the competitive side, but also are a great place to just enjoy Pokemon, regardless of how you're involved in it.
Awesome. I love that talk on like the values, right? And
Mm-hmm.
especially, and especially like a big partnership with GameStop. One of the things that I think an early reaction be, oh, is this, too corporate coming into our
Right.
games, trying to steal from our like
Sure.
LGS. But
Yeah.
no, it's just like, hey, here's the players that have been helping support and growing the scene in the community.
Mhm.
And knowing that it's, it's the team like the Shuffle Squad that's affiliated with it, and
Right.
saying, hey, they're still doing our part. We're not going to take away from what has made the game grow to the great community that it is, and instead use the new opportunities to just enhance the experience for everyone.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
again, I could sit here on this podcast and talk out my butt about things, and I really don't like doing that. I honestly, sometimes I sound like I'm on a pedestal talking about things that I don't know about, and I get that, and I know a lot of people in the community will be like, oh, PJ doesn't mean that, he's just saying things to say things. I really am, and I really do care about this community. I really want the best for it. It is my third child. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
talk to my wife when I go on these trips. I go, yeah, I'm going to go hang out with my other older kids now.
Yeah.
And everybody on the team calls me dad. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is like, I'm there for everybody. I'm always, here for everybody in the community, even people that aren't on the team. Like I've had a couple of you guys on the podcast, and every event, we've shared rooms together
Yeah,
too.
we have,
So, anybody that knows me personally knows that this is what I do, right? And this is exactly how I want to keep the Shuffle Squad's name going forward as we grow.
Yeah.
There's no change in my mind, because if it's changing for the worst, we're not signing on somebody that's gonna scramble people's money when they get it, or people that are just signing people to sign people. It's just us, right? It's just
Yep.
Shuffle doing Shuffle things with a really helpful partner that's going to help us achieve the goals that we've always aspired to achieve.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
mean, just getting your name out there more, and like that.
Mhm.
That's like you said, GameStop is.
Mhm.
I mean, my girlfriend even knows about GameStop. Like,
Right.
and she doesn't know like anything about like this kind of like world as much unless I tell her.
Mhm.
And so that's just super exciting.
Yeah.
It's gonna open up so many doors for the Pokemon community.
Mhm.
And just the possibilities are limitless.
Right.
Um,
I gotcha.
so
Ooh.
maybe there's more stops on the circuit.
Right. Right.
Ooh.
That's the thing, is
More
like
Pokestops is the
Poke
joke for anyone who
stops.
didn't
Yeah,
catch
yeah.
that one.
Pokemon
No,
Go
that was
players know who Shuffle
GameStops.
Squad is. Yeah, Game Stops. I got you. But no, I mean, honestly, the opportunity is there to just have visibility, regardless of what Pokemon game that you're playing.
Yeah.
And people know who Shuffle is already, so why not?
Why not?
And that's just kind of the question I keep. Why not? I guess I'd like, why me? Why my team? But why not?
Yeah. Why not us, right? Like, why not
Yeah,
us?
sure.
So
But yeah,
that's so
so
cool, man.
yeah, I'm really like, I'm just thrilled to be doing this, and especially coming into a new season, which is about to be the gap bridged from post COVID seasons. We finally got here. We had a nice full season. We're looking at the World Championships here in August, where they're upping the prize money for the World Championship. So they know it's growing. We know it's growing. I've talked to people within TPCI. Everybody knows where the game is supposed to go. We look at Twitter and Facebook and all the people that were upset about the changes because maybe they didn't have something to strive towards, and that's where we're going to fill in the gaps.
That's good.
Love it.
That's what we need. That's
Yep.
awesome. Guys, any final questions, thoughts?
Anyone who doesn't know about the Shuffle Squad, PJ, where do they go to find
Absolutely.
out about you and stuff that y'all are doing?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to find out a little bit more about my team, the Shuffle Squad, you can go on theshufflesquad.com where we host a website where we have coaching links. If you want to get a little bit better at the game, you can watch a couple of our videos on there. You get to buy some merchandise. We even have card sales on there. But honestly, if you check out our YouTube channel, that's the place you can find us the most. Right on youtube.com/the Shuffle Squad TCG. You can visit us over there. And if you want, you can give us a like and a subscribe on our videos. That would be really awesome. And I appreciate you for doing so. You can also check us out at literally every one of the North American regionals, if not most of the international regionals too. If you're listening to this and you're not in the States, so we're going to see a nice little TSS jersey somewhere, just come over and say hi. We're always super friendly and thrilled to have people come up to us and talk about the game. So make sure that you do so if you do see us out in public at these events. And we'll probably be at a whole bunch of league cups and league challenges too this season going forward.
Yeah.
So
Super excited to have you on, PJ. Thanks for coming on to share your news with us and get our live reactions. I'm very happy to have you. And we'll have you join again sometime, maybe talk about more details. So
yeah,
looking
absolutely.
forward to see what's in the future for your partnership with GameStop. But next up, we're going to talk about the Shrouded Fable set, and we'll have that coming up for you next. Okay, welcome back to the Peach Court podcast. Thanks for staying through our interview with PJ. So pretty excited to hear his news of the sponsorship with partnership with GameStop. So that's going to be great for the community. But next, we're going to move on to Shrouded Fable and talk about how this set will impact our world championships and our even further from that, Baltimore regional championships and any other regionals after. So we'll kind of run through some of the impactful cards. But before we do, just give a quick shout out to our sponsor, which is Nakama Anime Cafe and Bar here in Jacksonville, Florida. They're a great place. We keep saying it. We love their food. Every time I go in there, I always get the sushi because they got the sushi.
Yeah.
There's the one fried roll. I can't remember the name of this roll. I should because I get it so much. But there's a fried roll there. But try some of the sushi out. And we have a cup coming up in September, the weekend after Baltimore. So stay tuned for more details. But hope to see you there. Thanks, Nakama, for your continued support.
Yeah, and Nakama's been like popping off lately at locals. That like a bunch of people have
Yeah.
shown up, a bunch of people just having a good time, and it's great because we had what 5 rounds the other day.
Yeah,
5 rounds the other
like,
day. Yeah, 5
yeah.
rounds 2 weeks in a row. And then if you drop, then you can just go, hang out or go sing karaoke or like play Switch, right? Or play N64. But
Yeah,
like
some
it's
Mario
just a good
Kart.
time to hang out, right? Prize pack hits are always popping.
Alex pulled a Charizard last week.
Yep. And I had pulled 2 before there also, so it's
Sheesh.
Charizard EX. Yeah, I'm telling you, like Nakama prize packs have the best hits guaranteed. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, I think I've pulled about 20 Wailords from there, like 72 pot helmets.
That's how the pack goes, right? It's pot helmet, Wailord, Charizard EX. As opposed to if you go to any other store, it's pot helmet, Wailord, pot helmet, Wailord.
But wait, how many King Kyogres have you pulled?
I've pulled like 2 from there, and I've received some. So
Yeah,
good old King
Always
Kogri.
good.
I got one
King
for
If you
you.
know, you know.
I got one for you for this weekend. So
hey,
coming to you. All right, for those of you listening on our podcast platform, I'm going to be sharing my screen now, running through the Justin Basil website that has the translations for this set. So we'll jump in and I'll just kind of jump through some of the big cards. All right, guys, first up on the list, Galvantula. We're going to see this card at the World Championships. Is this going to have an impact?
No.
No, says Maddox. Parker, what do you think? This card has any legs?
probably not.
I mean,
Well, sorry. Hold up. Objectively, it's like a spider. It has like 6 to 8 legs. So that's standing. I do think this card gets pretty interesting when Stellar Miracle Stellar Crown comes out, because like it combos well with the pre-evolution Joltik that is super busted. and we'll talk about that in like 2 months probably. But like for now, probably not.
I'm just saying, man, attach a reversal on that and you're killing a Zard.
But like no decks play reversal right now.
Yeah,
That's
out of
because
here,
we haven't built it
Charizard.
yet, bro.
I
Anyways,
I'm
we
talking about
got
good
the
grass attackers.
we
We got
the new Dartrix. United Wings is
United
back.
Wings is back.
Well, the sad thing is, if you want to be good against Zard, you also have to now play Rowlet in your deck. So kind of makes your deck a little bit clunky. United Wings have any legs?
If Dragapult like wasn't like in two of the better decks, I'd say probably. And
True.
like the Dusknoir and Dusclops. But I think like right now it's a little rough for those.
Yeah,
Birds. So
birds.
yes, they have legs and they have wings, but I don't think it's enough. I mean, it's even though now we can cross that 240 threshold and get up to 320, which can theoretically knock out a what's the
Charizard.
guy Dragapult
Oh.
320 with a Ditto in the active swinging for 320. Like I think it's still just too much. It's not scaling quick enough. And ultimately the Dragapult as well as Sableye still just being a really big like gatekeeper of this deck, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, and Radiant Greninja and like 12 decks playing Canceling Clone now.
Yeah.
So,
90 HPs is not good for that. Decidueye, one grass, it's for 170. Draw until you have 7.
Yeah.
discard a
Absolutely.
grass in your hand to use the attack? Nah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Bug catching set?
Earthen Vessel, get 2 grass, attach 1, and then discard the other. Easy.
Nah, I just use bug catching set because I hit 2 grass off the top 7 every time.
Tapu Bulu, not really gonna see any play. Any of these fire guys any good? Houndoom, Iron Moth?
No.
Yeah, I mean, fire weakness just hasn't been relevant for like a long time. Like there was a little bit of time there when Goldango was pretty good and fire weakness was good. All right, but this doesn't seem a lot of good.
What's good about
Hey,
the
man.
Iron Moth is if you have someone at locals that plays Ancient Box and you just really want to
Or-
grief them, then you
or
can go and
Gold.
play. Yeah, no, they can attack with Ogre Pawn. So if
Yeah.
someone plays,
But that's weak to fire.
true. The Iron Moth, it will stop your opponent's ancient Pokemon. So if you really want to like grief your local Ancient Box player, but don't, because Ancient Box is a fun deck. Don't be mean to them. Just play your own deck. It's fine. You can let them have their fun. And there's plenty of decks that beat Ancient Box, unfortunately.
That's fair. All right, so we haven't done the trivia yet. How many EXs are in this set, guys?
Man, no one cares.
Oh,
Can't drop the trivia now. I have the tab pulled up on this screen, and I could scroll through it right now. Okay, so we got Kingdra, we got Reverum, we got 4 Dark Guys, and like no one
think
really
that's
cares
it,
about any of the
right?
other ones. Now there's always one more, so let's just say 7 because there's always one we forget.
All right, well, we're saying 7, and we're gonna find out towards the end. First up is our first EX. We got Kingdra EX from Night Wanderer's first attack costs 1 water. You can put up to 3 water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench. So just water Pokemon. Doesn't say anything about what stage they are or whatever. So if you want to put 3 Bax Calibers on your bench for whatever reason, this is your deck. You just rare candy Kingdra, discard all of your Bax Calibers, and then put them onto your bench. And the second attack is colorless Hydro Pump, 50 damage for each water attached to this Pokemon. I mean, lightning weakness right now is very relevant in this game. I don't think Kingdra is going to be very good. Yeah, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, like the attack's objectively busted. The problem is just that you need to get another stage 2 in play to get like your busted stage 2s into play.
Yeah.
So there's like some combination of this that's like cool, but I don't know if it's better.
I mean, you also have to like get your other guys in the discard pile while you're doing that too. It's just, that's why it's so tough. Weavile, we've got discard all energy from this Pokemon. Your extra Pokemon is now poisoned. Moving
Paralyzed.
on. Oh, yeah, paralyzed. Moving on. Reverum EX. So we've got a lightning type Reverum EX. And we've got accelerating flash for 1 metal, costs 20 plus damage. Does 20 plus damage. And if Pokemon move from your bench to the active spot during this turn, it does an additional 120. thus hitting the magic 140 number against Lightning V's, specifically Lugia. Things like that. It can hit 280 for weakness for 1 metal energy. And the second attack is metal, 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 speed break, 250 damage. You just discard this Pokemon and all attached cards. So, there's a world where you can just do 250 and not have a two prizer in play every turn. Which it's kind of cool, kind of neat.
I like it.
This gonna see any play? We got any decks here?
At Worlds, I don't know. I mean, for at League, I'm sure someone will play it. I might play it. But like, it's a card that tickles my fancy.
I think the neat thing with this, and Pokemon's starting to do this more and more, which is cool, where you see that there's like evolution lines that like intentionally synergize, right? So we have the Rever Room that you can discard energy and draw your hand up into 6. So you can kind of like play one of those along with the Rever Room EX deck and have some draw support. I don't know, maybe you're playing like Metang and a bunch of Super Rods. So if you go and discard your Rever Room and the energy, then you can grab back your Rever Room EX and the Varoom and put them back into play, and then just Metal Maker the energy back. I mean, there's some neat combos there. Again, I'm not sure if we'll see it at Worlds. I mean, I hope it wins Worlds, but it probably won't. but that's cool too, right? Not every deck has to be the best deck ever. That's fine.
Yeah, for those of you keeping count at home, we're up to 2 EXs. Let's move on. I'm just gonna skip right over Hypno because it puts me to sleep to talk about it. And we'll move right to Duskull, Dusclops, and Dusknor. If you haven't heard of this card, your name's probably Patrick, and you're living under a rock. Because this card is going to shake up the metagame as we know it today. For those of you that don't know what it does, Dusclops and Dusknor are kind of what the cool pieces are. So it's Dusclops' ability says once during your turn, you may put 5 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, only one, not any way you want. And if you
Thank
place any,
God.
yeah, thank God, I agree. If you place any damage counters in this way, that Pokemon is knocked out. So you give up
This
one
Pokemon
prize.
is knocked out.
Yeah, this Pokemon. Yeah, you give up one prize card for your opponent, and you put 5 damage counters somewhere. And the Dusknor is the same effect, but for 13 damage counters, and it's a stage 2. So this card's going to turn on things like Counter Catcher, Roxanne when you're not ready for it. Different reversal energy builds, maybe. So maybe we're playing the grass attacker with Dusclops and reversal energies. I'm just saying we can hit for 150 it's fine. They can't retreat. I mean, it's pretty good. Anyways,
I can't wait for my opponents to go pop Dusknor, bench Luxray reversal, Defiance
Exactly.
Band, knockout,
Exactly.
340 Pokemon.
Exactly. You see it, bro.
Oh.
There's so much potential with this. Parker, you've been here, you've played the game for a while. Has there ever been a Pokemon like this, or is this the first thing we've ever seen like this?
There, gosh, I want to say that there was something like this. I want to say it was like Cofagrigus or something. Hold on.
I know there's like the Miss Magius that would knock itself out.
Yeah,
and you drop a 7.
Mhm.
I mean, drawing is doing damage to 2 different things, man. This card is going to be nuts.
Yeah, so Cofagrigus from Plasma Freeze. I'm surprised I remembered this. You may knock out this Pokemon if you do put 3 damage counters on your Pokemon anyway, or your opponent's Pokemon anyway. Like
that's not a basic. Oh no, it evolves from your
no, it
mask.
evolves from Yamask.
And in that format, 3 damage counters was a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, where do you guys see? I mean, the obvious inclusion has been Charizard because Charizard gets stronger. All right, Dusclops put 5 on something, and now instead of doing 180 damage, you're doing 210 damage. So you're doing base 260. You put a Defiance Band on that, you're doing 290.
90,
You counter
Kieran.
catcher of something that you're not ready for. KO at Kieran, you're hitting 320. There's just so many cool cards here that this is going to enable for Charizard. So we'll definitely see this in Charizard decks. But where else do you guys expect to see this card at the World Championships?
It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to say. I mean, yeah, Parker, you go. I don't know.
I can't think of anything except if somebody does decide to show up with a deck with the combo I just mentioned, or like 'Cause you're not gonna be playing it in like the basic like jam a bunch of damage decks like Bolt or Moon or that kind of thing. But oh, there'd probably be some pure Dragapult list that plays it or something. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot of damage counters.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Dragapult definitely seems like the place to play this if you can make it work, but it seems like a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, there's that kind of the turbo Sableye Donk deck that's kind of appeared where some people are playing like a 4/4 line of Duskull Dusclops with Lost City. So you use the ability to knock yourself out, put your 2 cards into the Lost Zone, turbo to Sableye after you've already put a bunch of damage into play, and then pull off a turn 2 Sableye and just spread a bunch of damage by putting your own guys in Lost Zone. So again, a little bit of like a risky strategy there. I think what's cool about this is again enabling those cards because there's so many good comeback cards in the game right now, such as that reversal
So
energy,
many
such
good
as counter
cards.
catcher,
Yeah.
Roxanne, even Iona, right? Just saying, hey, I'm gonna, Iona you to 1 less card now. Putting extra damage into play is always going to be strong. So really excited to see what comes from this. I know that everyone knows about Charizard. I'm expecting that there's going to be a deck or two that uses this in a unique way that maybe we're not ready for, and that's the fun part about new cards at major tournaments that you just see them show up in big ways that no one would have expected otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, when you see someone have a Dusknoir with reversal energy doing 150, I said it here first. Just saying. All right, moving on next to the Cresselia. Parker, I think you said this one was interesting to you.
I
For the
yeah.
That's fun attack.
Yeah, I love this card, but is it like really, really good? No. But
So the
it's a
second
really
attack
cool
is
attack.
you can put this in. This is the better Cresselia and Guardy, right?
No.
You can do Psychic does 80 plus damage, and you can turn one of your face down prize cards up. If you do, this attack does 80 more damage, and that prize card remains face up for the rest of the game. So, for those of you that don't like the prize game mechanic and you don't know how to check your prizes sometimes, and you want to have a cool way to get your prize cards up, this is this is a way to do it. If you want to play this in Guardy to get your Curlios, I understand. Go for it. Moving on from Sylvia and Toxicroak. Our next couple cards we're going to talk about are Blood Moon, Ursaluna, and Slitherwing. And each of us before we came on, and I'll pause here and put you on the spot, Parker. Each of us before we came on picked one card that really isn't getting talked about a lot. That we wanted to say, hey, this is a card we should probably experiment with more, and that it's going to be good. Parker, you said Blood Moon or Saluna. Explain the card and why you chose it as that one card.
So basically it's a 150 HP basic, which is already pretty okay. It's got this ability where if it's on you play it from hand to bench, it's like the same thing as the Galarian birds from I say of old, but it was like literally
Evolving
last
Skies,
year
I
or
think,
whatever.
yeah, E block
Um
somewhere, yeah.
yeah, where you can attach 2 fightings from hand to it. So basically you can just power it up in one turn pretty easily, and then this was gonna be like my fun, like terrible league deck where I played it with like the Dusknoir and Dusclops, to put the damage counters on, but that card people realize that the Dusknoir and Dusclops are too good now, so it's not my fun league deck anymore.
I mean, it can still be your fun league deck.
That's true. That's
Uh,
true. But
I
yeah,
like
the
it.
yeah the attack I think is pretty decent. It's 100 plus 30 for each damage counter on them. So if you dusk collapse your opponent, it's
250.
doing 250. You dusk ignore their opponent, you're just nuking them off the face of the earth. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
Combo
Uh,
this with like Halucha, Radiant Alakazam, things like,
yeah, even Frostlass or something.
Yeah, Frostlass. Yeah, exactly.
I think it could be really strong, like a Lost Box deck
Yeah,
type of thing. I know they played a Galarian Moltres in the past
right.
as well to be able to put energy into play quickly. I mean, and in a case like this too, of just okay, you have all the stuff in hand and you're spreading damage to Sableye, or even like a Radiant Greninja. If you hit something for 90, okay, well now you're hitting that thing that you already hit for 90 for 370. So bye Gudra, right? Whatever it is, it's gone,
Yeah.
right? So, really, really interesting card, and I think pretty strong one overall.
Yep, I agree. And so the next card is Slitherwing, aka Iron Hands Counter. This attack cost is fighting colorless. Iron Buster does 20 plus damage. If your opponent has a future Pokemon in play, this attack does 120 more damage. It's doing base 140 if they have a future in play, which Iron Hands is a future. There's some other niche cases that this could be used, but really this is just an Iron Hands counter for like a lost box if you're worried about it and you want to play some fighting energies, or you're playing a Blood Moon or Saluna deck and you want an easier answer to Iron Hands. This is your guy. He can be slapped into any deck that plays fighting energy. Any comments about this card?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It kind of reminds me of like Rally Back Tropius is like the, 2 energy tech that you can like quickly like Mirage Gate 2 or something to power it up.
Yeah.
I think still questions of how good it is, and is it like a better response than like a Blood Moon or Saluna. I think it's nice to have a 1 prize response rather than a 2 prize response.
Right.
Sorry, Blood Moon or Saluna EX from the last set.
True.
Clarifying. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool card. I think it'll definitely see play as long as Iron Hands is around.
Right.
Which will probably until it rotates.
Yeah, I don't think that card's going anywhere. Also, this is another ancient box to play.
Yo.
All right, moving on to the dark attackers. We got a lot of good dark attackers. Let's talk about Crobat first. Crobat says, its ability says once during your turn, if you played Janine's Secret Technique from your hand during this turn, you can draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand. And Janine's Secret Technique is, we'll just touch on this one real quick while we're here. Janine's Secret Technique says choose up to 2 of your dark Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a basic dark energy and attach it to that Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. If you attach any energy to your active Pokemon in this way, that Pokemon is now poisoned. So you can poison your active Pokemon and attach an energy to it or anyone on your bench. And then from there, you can just draw 8 cards until you have 8 cards in your hand.
Yeah.
Pretty good card, pretty good ability. The attack is dark colorless, poison fang, 120 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. And you put 2 during Pokemon checkup, you put 2 damage counters instead of 1. What do you guys think about this card? Any good?
Super cool. Is it gonna win Worlds? No, but
No. What do you mean?
I mean, if there was like better search or like some kind of niche supporter like Iridar or something for dark Pokemon, maybe.
Got Hyper Aroma.
To find a stage 1 and then evolve into stage 2.
Yeah, it finds all your Golbats and then you evolve.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, what I do like about this is, again, Janine's Secret Technique, very powerful energy acceleration ability. There's no draw to it. So playing your supporter for turn makes it very difficult to like not have a draw component.
That's true.
So if you wanted to play a deck that leaned into it very heavily, you could say, hey, I'm going to play my Crobat. And as long as I can play my Janine's Secret Technique, then I can draw to find it. Problem is, you get Iono to 1. Man, it'd be really good if you could draw until you have 8 to then play your Janine's Secret Technique.
Then
Yeah. So maybe Barrel is just better while it's in standard to draw it up to 5 and find the pieces you need. So
I was kind of thinking, like, because this is a special set, this would have been a fun pre-release. Like, some of these cards seem kind of cool to play together. Moving on, we're gonna skip over Absol. Zoroark is back with a vengeance, baby.
It's not the same, my beloved Zoroark.
I know, Maddox was a big Zoroark guy. All he wanted to do is play Zoroark. Anyways, we got Phantom Jack. We got Phantom Jack, 60 times damage. His attack does 60 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V in play. This is a really strong attack on a single prizer. I mean, thankfully it's not a basic. Because it'd be really strong, but this synergizes well with Dark Patch. You don't even need Dark. It can do any energy, but because it's Dark Pokemon, it synergizes with Dark Patch. Any Roaring Moon EX decks playing this as a single prize attacker?
Yeah, I think the issue with the deck is that there's probably better attackers into like the multiple EX or V decks than Zoroark. Because there aren't too many decks that are like a MUV Max where you're just like, oh, yeah, I have 6 Vs in play the whole time. Right? I mean, like even a deck like right, say maybe a Miraidon, right, has
Miraidon,
4 to 5 or 6 EXs or Vs in play. Same with like a Future Hands, like a Future Box,
Raging
maybe
Bolt.
Roaring Moon. Your Raging Bolt does have a few of them. maybe it's good to get into that. But then like you play around it somewhat. If you have a double turbo, then you're hitting 220 if they have 4 in play, so you need 5 to get a knockout on a Raging Bolt.
Yeah. Interesting card. We'll see.
Yeah. Attacks like this are something always to watch out for. It's like, that's pretty strong. Like, that can be pretty strong into the right deck.
Yeah. Do we talk about Malamar? Or are we moving on from Malamar?
I think we're good with that.
Yeah, I think we're good with that.
Yeah, cool
All right.
artwork.
Yeah, it is a cool artwork. I agree. All right, next up is Evital Max. This was your one card that you chose. Can you tell us about this card?
Again, a card that's not getting too much attention. Again, don't think it's going to win Worlds or anything, but a really neat card that combos with a lot with stuff that already exists in the format right now, namely like a Frostlass type of thing. Its first attack for 1 Dark Gnawing Winds, put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So there's, Spread is a cool archetype and a cool way to play the game. So a card like this that synergizes very well with it. Maybe you go and use your Spinda to deal 10 to everything or something like that, right? And now you're able to, okay, now I can combo and I can just start building damage. Play with Frostlass, and now you can accelerate your Frostlass pings onto ability Pokemon, and then Gnawing Winds just keep adding damage counters as you go. So again, cards like this are just kind of cool to watch out for. I'd love to see spread decks come back into the just a viable spread deck, and we're starting to see some of the Frostlass Monkey Dory stuff. So things like that are cool, and yeah, it's just a fun card to see that helps synergize well with Monkey Dory playing that dark energy. And I think there's something here.
Yeah. I think Dizzy would probably agree with you. One of our locals, he loves some Frostlass right now. So
yeah,
we've already talked about this card.
Oh, okay.
You guys playing it?
Maybe.
All right. Moving on. We got a couple of when I say a couple, I mean 4. I'm gonna add 4 to our EX count. We're up to 6 now.
Yeah. 6, that's what we said.
Well, we might have 7, who knows? We are up to 6 EXs, and we got 4 dark EXs. I'll run through these pretty quickly, and we'll talk about them as a group. The Yogi Dogi EX for Poison Muscle, 1 colorless energy. Start your deck from up to 2 basic dark energy, attach them to this Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. If you attach any energy this way, this Pokemon is now poisoned. So you got some cool, neat energy acceleration onto a dark Pokemon with energy switches and format. That's always good. Its second attack is Crazy Chain. For dark colorless, it's 130 plus damage. If it's poison, it does 130 more damage. So the 2 attacks kind of synergize with each other. There's other ways to get it poisoned. But it's a pretty good attacker for 260 damage. And it's got 250 HP, so it's kind of chunky. It's got 3 retreat. That's a lot of HP. So for a basic. Monkey Dory EX, its ability says skip a beat. If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, if you have Petrant EX in play, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize card. So pretty cool. I mean, the attack's not great. It's dark, colorless, dirty headbutt. It does 190 damage, and during your next turn, you can't use dirty headbutt. But something taking out like a Laminion or a support Pokemon, and if you have Petrant in play, only get to giving up 1 prize. Kind of cool.
KO's the Gardevoir EX too.
Yep, does KO Gardevoir EX. That's kind of cool. Fezzidipity EX. This card, while it's great in these dark decks together, this card by itself you will see this card in the winning deck at Worlds. I'm gonna say that now. Whatever deck wins Worlds has this card in it. So ability, take advantage once during your turn. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you can just draw 3 cards, and you can't use more than 1 take advantage ability each turn. So that's good they didn't make it where you just have like 3 Fezzidipities and you're drawing 9 a turn. But this card lets you kind of be Iono proofed. It has an okay attack. It's colorless, cruel arrow. This attack does 100 damage to 1 of your opponent's Pokemon. So it can snipe the bench, which is kind of cool for 100, but not a lot of damage, but it has some things where it will work, but most people will play this for the ability. And then last but not least of the Dark EXs, we have Petrant EX. This ability is controlling change. So once during your turn, you may switch one of your bench dark Pokemon, except any Petrant EX with your active. If you do, your new active is now poison, and you can't use more than 1 controlling chains per turn. And so that ability combos really well with the Ogie Dogie EX because if it's poisoned, it does more damage. So that's another way that you can poison that Pokemon. And the Petron kind of has a cool attack. Honestly, the dark, irritating burst. 60 times damage, and it does 60 damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So if you're playing a dark patch deck later in the game, it's a dark patch and attach. You're doing a lot of damage.
Not a
Anyways,
damage.
what do you guys think about these 4 EXs? I rambled for a bit there, but there's a lot of them here. And there's some things here.
I think it. I think they're all good. I think like obviously you throw them all together, but like Pheasantipity is like a tier S card. I think that like the Ogie Dogie, the Monkey Door's ability, and the Petulant like super strong cards. Like Ogie Dogie, like I'll probably play it. Just because if you brick, you still have a play, and you can still hit 260 the next turn, given like if you don't die immediately. But, like it's got a lot of health, a lot of damage. Like that's a good Pokemon card in my mind.
Yeah, it's again a case where we see kind of a packaged deck all together, and we already talked about Janine's secret technique and some of the other like trainer support that this deck gets. But again, it's just like a nice combo being able to say, Petront giving you that switch ability, especially in a deck that's very reliant on like Dark Patch, which is in format right now. Being able to say, hey, I can keep my Ogie Dogie EX on the bench, Dark Patch to it, and then whenever I want, I just use my Pokemon's ability, switch it to the active, and now it's poison. Now it's dealing the extra damage. Again, just like really, really strong combo. Again, can theoretically hit 260 or more on the first turn of the game, which is, has to be noted just for that sheer strength alone. Pheasantipity, right? A reprint of Arcorio GX, I believe. So again, a card that was a staple for a while, and I think will be a staple here as well. Very splashable in any deck. And even though its attack for the Pheasantipity, the Cruel Arrow isn't that strong and like it's niche, but again, on a support Pokemon to have like a usable attack, I always view that as a win. Where it says, hey, even
Oh
if your
yeah.
deck plays Mew EX just as like a support Pokemon, it says, well, maybe I need to genome hacking something, right? Like having options is always good, as opposed to just having like, oh yeah, my attack is like dark, and it is bite for 40, right? Like something that like has more
Or
practical uses
Rotom's
than that.
attack that no one ever uses.
Scrap shot.
Scrap shot, yeah.
I've
Unless you're
attacked with
playing
that
Rotom V
before.
Star. Now that deck cooks. Maybe.
All right, moving on to the next one. We got Genesect here. Nothing special from an attack perspective. It's metal colorless for 100 damage. But the ability is why Genesect is pretty good. Its ability is Ace Canceller. You can just, if it has any tools attached, your opponent can't play an Ace spec from their hand. So I mean, turning off some strong cards, kind of niche. Not sure how much we'll see this play. Maybe in some sort of control deck that wants to turn off Prime Catcher or anything like that. It's kind of niche. It's kind of cool. I don't mind it.
Yeah. Especially with vacuum in the format, it's tricky since you can always target that tool, and a lot of decks are playing that vacuum.
Yeah.
But also, it's neat to have this type of ability. It doesn't work perfectly because there's some cases like a Lugia deck can still accelerate their legacy energy into play with Primal Turbo, and
True.
then I'll go through Ace Canceller because they're not playing it from their
From their
hand.
hand.
So there's
Yeah.
like some niche cases of that, but it pretty much stops every other aspect as far as I know.
So if they ever print like a absolute broken ace spec that 100% of decks are playing, this is your counter. Just remember that you have that in your back pocket.
It's funny that like we used to say the Prime Catcher, that super broken ace spec card, but now it's like, oh yeah, Prime Catcher like feels kind of balanced in consideration with everything else in a way. I don't know if y'all feel the same way. Obviously, it's all like busted.
Yeah. All right, move on to the next card. Copper Raja. This is my card that I chose as one that's a little underrated and still needs some exploring. And the reason why isn't only because of this card itself, but it's because of Copper Raja EX. If you wanted to play a Copper Raja EX deck, which if you don't remember what that card does, basically it's a big tanky stage 1 that can have effective almost 400 HP, and hits pretty hard. But this just kind of gives you a single prize option in that deck that's not just Samazenta and things like that. But Caparaja's ability says Gargantuan Body. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any stadiums from their hand. So if we ever get a card like Path to the Peak or something like that, that happens again, maybe this sees more play. But for metal colorless, Nose Lariat does 130 damage base, and you can do 100 more damage. You can just do it if you want to or not. But if you do, you can't attack during your next turn. That Pokemon can't attack. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. 230, a 230 damage attack on a basic. Like the Zamazenta's
Stage
cool.
one.
It does 220. Yeah, sorry, stage one. Zamazenta does 220 if you got knocked out. So that one's kind of neat, but this one doesn't need that. Yeah, I like the card. We'll see.
Yeah, I like the text of the attack. It just says like if you're in a single prize matchup, you can just hit for 130, and you can attack
Yeah.
next turn fine. Or if you needed to hit harder, then you can. Like
Yeah.
options like that are cool in attacks.
Yeah, no, I agree. We got the Varoom for the Reveroom. We'll move on from that. Okay, so next we have the Haxorus line. Haxorus is kind of the Lugia killer or anyone that has special energy. So we had one like this previously. Maddox Zorak. What's the name of the card? Special energy killer.
Oh, there was a what's it called? Not Appleton.
Appleton.
Well, it did 70 times for one colorless. It did 70 times the number of special energy on one of your opponents on attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon.
Okay. Parker, was there not something that just knocked out something for special energy attached?
Oh,
I think like a
Beedrill.
long time ago.
Is that
Yeah,
Beedrill?
Beedrill.
Yeah, Beedrill.
It's the single strike one.
Beedrill, that's right.
Yeah.
I knew I remember from somewhere. Yeah, so this is the Beedrill kind of spiritual reprint. So it's just kind of there for Lugia and anyone else that wants to play like special energies, but you'll see this card kind of in Regidrago maybe. If Lugia is going to be big, Regidrago will play this card. Just to knock out the active. I mean, does Mist play through this? This plays through Mist,
Yeah,
right?
Mist stops it.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
not really very good.
Wah,
That's
wah, wah.
annoying.
So
No,
you need
that's
like
annoying.
Temple and Mist.
Temple and this. Yeah. That's interesting. All right, moving on to the next dragon Pokemon, Kyurem. This is our Lost Box tech. This is our savior. This is the card we've been waiting for to kill Lost Box, right?
Oh,
Who knows?
in a way, I think so.
Or explain, Parker.
I mean, like, I think Regidrago decks are gonna play it, even though, like, I think if you start this card, you probably just lose that game. But
Probably. Yeah.
yeah, like the risk / reward, like taking a really good matchup into Lost Box. I mean, you have to play like Cologne and stuff because they'll probably play Manaphy
Right.
now if they fear
Right.
this card.
I kind of
But
have to, yeah.
yeah, but it is splashable in other decks. Like I think it has the most application in Regidrago probably, but
Yeah. As for those who don't know what this card does, Kyurem has the ability Anti-Plasma. If your opponent has any card in their discard pile with Colress in the name, this Pokemon's Triforce attack can be used for a single colorless energy. So, but without the ability, it costs water, metal, colorless. So maybe you can combo this with Gudra, maybe.
Triple gate to it.
Triple gate to it, absolutely. Yeah. But you have to discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. So not just the active and 2 others. You can choose any 3 Pokemon you want. It does, Manaphy. It is weak to Manaphy if someone has Manaphy bench. So you'll see some lists playing Canceling Cologne that play this card to try to pull that combo off a little bit more. But you'll just see some decks splash this, like maybe like a Raging Bolt that might be a little bit weak to Lost Box. They can just splash this in there, kill the Manaphy on an Iona turn or something. And it kind of forces Lost Box to play around this card at Worlds. Max, what do you think about this card for Worlds? Is it going to be in the winning deck?
It's hard to say, right? Again, a more splashable Lost Zone tech than we've seen in other decks, right? Less than you to commit to. And obviously, very strong ability, and a Lost Box player needs to be careful of. Okay, do I think my opponent plays Kyurem? Do I need to bench Manaphy? Am I even going to play Manaphy? So definitely a very, very strong card. I think there's a world where you can be a Lost Box player and just say, no one's gonna play Kirim and just try to dodge them. I think there's also a world where you can say, I want to splash in my deck because my deck loses to Lost Box and I want to be ready for it. So again, being able to do all this for one color's energy is ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
Again, targeting 3 Pokemon with 110 is a very strong attack we don't see often of this much
Yeah.
damage to 3 targets. So really interesting to see. I think it'll definitely see play between Regidrago and decks scared of Lost Box. But Lost Box is still really good, so who knows if even this will stop it.
We
I'll
shall
say there's
find out.
one cheeky counter to that, and it's chorusing twice and then playing Palpad.
True.
You're
true.
right. You're right. Maybe you just play a Chorus deck with 4 Palpad.
Or you
4
play
Pal-
Banette from Lost Origin and put it into your hand. The
True
chorus.
that.
True that. Oh, true that. True. Or maybe you play the Dusclops deck that doesn't have any Chorus in it.
True.
So many ways to play, but a cool card. I think it's nice that we have a Lost Box counter and you can choose to play it or not. It's kind of like Drapion in a way. Like you can choose to play Drapion or not.
Yeah.
You know, you got cards like that, and it's a single prize.
Definitely.
So we've got Persian and Eevee and Furfu and Stuffle and Beware, but none of those cards are any good. Any of these? Anyone?
Nah, we're good.
No.
All right. We're moving on to items and trainer cards. So we got the Binding Mochi item card. The
Tool.
attacks of, sorry, Tool, thank you. The attacks of the poison Pokemon this card is attached to do 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this Mochi is obviously being combined with the Dark deck. When you attack with like Okidogi or anything like that, you can be doing 300 damage off of Okidogi EX. So kind of cool. You could do that turn 1, like Maddox said.
Mhm.
300 HP, 300 damage turn 1. So a pretty cool card,
Mhm.
and you could play multiple because it's a tool. And what do you think? Good card.
Yeah, your Walking Wakes EXs can now hit 280.
Speaking of
Oh,
EXs,
wait a
you guys
second.
nailed it. We got 6 EXs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Another cool combo I've seen with this one is playing a Petron EX and binding Mochi and Charizard EX. Since your Charizard EX is a dark type, one, you just kind of auto win the stall matchup, basically. But and I mean if they play Mimikyu, not quite. But you can always get your Charizard from the bench to the active spot. Very, very good, of course. And then if you can use binding Mochi with it, so now your Charizard EX on turn 2, maybe your opponent took a single prize card. Well, now instead of Defiance Band, you can go hit them with the 210 and then Poison for plus 40, hit them for that 250. Maybe even on turn, if they haven't taken a prize yet, you hit 180. Yeah, 180 hit 220.
20.
220, that's the number.
Plus,
220 is a
well,
good number.
plus poison, right? Oh, it's poisoned you.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
Unless you're
some options here.
playing Root Bonnet or whatever that card's
Root Bonnet,
called.
Ancient Booster Capsule. I think we're cooking a little too much now.
I am moving on to Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia,
Cassiopeia.
I think.
Cassiopeia. All right, sure.
Casserole.
I don't like this card at all. You can use this card only when it's the last card in your hand. And it says search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. So if you somehow put it on top of your deck with the new Stadium plus Squovet, then play this. It's kind of like a poor man's Peonia.
Or Peony.
Peony. Sorry, Peony.
Me.
That's probably like the only way you can use this in my head. What do you guys think?
Yeah, pretty much that. But there's enough discard cards to make it like usable, but I don't know. I feel like Arvin basically does the same thing, like always.
True. Arvin for whatever you want, plus 4 Steelstone to get whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. We got another Colress card. You got to be careful because the Kyurem's in format if you want to play this card. But we've got a Stadium Search supporter back. Skyla rotated out, about a year ago, I think. And now we've got search your deck for a Stadium card and an Energy card. Reveal them and put them into your hand and then shuffle your deck. Kind of a cool supporter. And, maybe in that the grass deck I was talking about earlier, maybe you go get your festival lead and your reversal energy and
Now we're cooking.
reversal energy. You know, who knows, man?
But then they Kirim you.
No, I palpate. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's okay card. Just it's good to remember that we finally have a supporter to find a stadium, which we needed for a while there.
Definitely.
Dangerous Laser, the worst ace spec ever printed. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned and confused. Name a worse ace spec. Oh wait.
Keep scrolling. We'll find it.
Yeah, not a fan. We were talking about this earlier where like I think this could be a regular item and decks still wouldn't play it, but like there's some that could. But I think like eh,
Yeah, I think if anything, this tells you just how strong Hypnotoxic Laser was back when it was around.
that is true.
Because it was an item you could play 4 of it. It just automatically poisoned, and then
And
had
flip
a
for sleep.
flip for sleep. So 25% chance that your opponent's Pokemon are really in sleep, right? So here, like, burn is probably, I mean, burn is probably better than poison. I guess poison is a little more support now, so you could argue that. But like confusion, better than sleep, I would say.
Yeah.
But this is an ace spec. I think if this wasn't an ace spec, decks would play it, but as an ace spec, there's just got to be something better to play than this. Like an extra
Yeah.
20 damage and confusion is like funny, and like helpful in some cases, but I don't think it's enough.
Moving on, we're gonna skip Janine's because we already talked about Janine's. The next ace spec in the set is Neutral Center, and this card is a Stadium card that says prevent all damage done to Pokemon that don't have a rule box by attacks from their opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. So basically, it gives you Mimikyu's ability on your non-rule box Pokemon. As well as some of these ace specs are now getting this text that says, if this card is in your discard pile, it cannot be put in your hand or shuffled into your deck. So you can't use it again. Once it's gone, it's gone. Prevent all damage. Is it good enough? Or maybe it has some niche and control?
I think control's probably the only thing that like feasibly could play it. But
Yeah, there's something there. It's again a very powerful effect. The fact that you can't recover it makes it tricky. If you could recover it, then it gets dangerous.
it'd be very good, yeah.
Right. So I think a card like this is, something to watch out for. Something interesting that if you're going to Worlds, then like, if you haven't seen your opponent's ace spec and they're playing a deck with a bunch of Roblox or a bunch of non-Roblox Pokemon, like, do you have to like save one stadium bump for the end in case they hit you with the neutral center? Like, I mean, like, there's a world. You do something
Right.
kind of interesting if you're like, okay, maybe like you go and play. Actually, no. I was gonna say you go like, I mean, yeah, if you go hit them with like an item lock deck, so you can stop their vacuums when they still have to bump with like a stadium. I don't know. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really like an ace spec as a stadium unless it's like a super busted ability, just because it can just, it can just sit there, which is cool. And there's some stadiums come out in the next sets after this. They'll talk about later on a different episode. But yeah, this just ain't it for me. Moving on, we got Knight Academy, Miraidon's new best friend. Once during each player's turn, that player may put a card from their hand on top of their deck. Like this card is like kind of like the Oranguru ability we used to have. You could stack cards to prevent Ionos, and different things like that. You could stack a lightning energy so that your generators are going to hit at least one. So now if you've got now it basically turns your lightning generator. If you have an energy in your top 4, you hit 2, right? So makes your generators a little bit more consistent. You guys think we're going to see this card at Worlds?
Yeah, bro. Kirim VMAX winning worlds
Yeah.
with this card in their hand. When you go Knight Academy, put a water, use the ability, lost vacuum it away, play another one, put another water back in your hand.
Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking. How many vacuums you playing in a deck like that? 4?
6.
Max, what do you think about this card?
I think it's cool. Again, anything again is not quite as powerful as the Oranguru, I think, because you also got to take a card from top of your deck where you did a swap. But
yeah.
again, here niche
I hate
cases,
that
but
card.
yeah, but niche cases, like if your opponent puts this card into play, you're not like hating it. You're not like, oh man, he's got the stadium. It's kind of good for both players,
Yeah.
especially in like Miraidon. Again, being able to go and say, oh, I can go and stack an energy on top so I can guarantee my generator hits, or even use it a little more defensively, where it says, hey, I'm going to go put my boss's orders or my research or something on top of the deck in case I get Iono'd, then I'm guaranteed to draw into that card.
Yep. I mean, I like it. I think we'll see play. Not sure where, but that's good. If you're looking for
Somewhere.
a stadium to play in your deck and you don't know what to play, like look at this one, maybe. All right, next we got Night Stretcher, an item card. Says put a Pokemon or a basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. What do you think? I like this card.
I like it too.
Good card.
No. Not quite as good as Rescue Stretcher, but still just a very powerful effect.
Yeah.
Simple, but good.
Yeah, I mean, you knocked out my Fezidipity, Night Stretcher, draw 3. I mean, kind of cool. Kind of cool. All
Or
right,
even
so
like your big, your EXs, your stage 2s.
yeah,
You can go and say, okay, Rare Candy plus Night Stretcher now gets you that EX to evolve into, or something like that. Again, just lots of flexibility with a card like this, as opposed to having to go like a Super Rod plus Nest Ball combo to get the card you need. You can just you get it done in one card. Obviously, it's not as strong of a recovery as Super Rod, but you get the flexibility right to your hand is going to be worth it in I think several decks at the World
true.
Championship.
True. All right, so Maddox, I think this is what you alluded to earlier, finding a worse ace spec.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about this card? I think it seems like you like it.
Well, I mean, so Pokevital A, right? You heal 150 damage from one of your Pokemon. Very, very good effect. And if this card is in your discard pile, it can be put back into your hand or shuffled into your deck. So, like, compared to like previous ace specs before, they had Gold Potion, which healed 90. But you could cycle that. So there were some decks that had the ability to abuse that and continuously heal. This with the text of saying it cannot be put back in your hand or shuffled into your deck means you get a one-time heal of 150, which a heal of 150 is like very good. But if you compare that to cards like Scoop Up Cyclone, which are effective healing, also in the fact that like most of Pokemon is like one-shotting your opponent's Pokemon anyways,
Yeah.
we're just not seeing this pop up too much. I'm not saying that like it'll never show in a deck. I'm sure there's gonna be some, any deck that's like playing to stall or values this healing so much. I think there's some merit to it. But maybe a card like Hero's Cape that gives you that effective HP, but you can go and use Penny on it, or you can shuffle in Hero's Cape with a Roseanne's backup or with Silent. Like there's a few more cards that give you that similar effect with a little bit more flexibility. At
Yeah.
least that's what I think about it.
I mean, maybe Pokevital B will be better.
Maybe. Maybe it's 200 HP and you can put it in your hand after you've played it.
Maybe, possibly.
And
All
then
right.
the game doesn't work anymore.
We got 2 more cards to get through. We've got Power Hourglass. This is a tool card that says at the end of your turn, if this Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, you can attach a basic energy from your discard pile to that Pokemon. This is pretty cool, and maybe this sees play in a deck like Greninja. Greninja EX, right? Like, do the attack, discard the energy, put one back. Kind of cool.
In combo with Boomerang Energy as well.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
also puts itself back.
I mean, now we got 2 energy on a Greninja. I don't know, man. I like this card. I don't know where it applies, but I do like the card.
It's even interesting, like a deck like Raging Bolt, like just like passively put energy back into play.
Yeah.
Type of thing,
True.
and even in a deck like like Lost Box, I think as well. Again, just gives that like flexibility that puts that energy into play. Gives you more options. So something like this thing is cool. It's the hard part is probably just justifying a spot for it, but I think in some decks will make the case for it.
All right. Now we're gonna end with a banger. This card, I think this card has potential to
To be
cause.
disgusting.
Well, just like to like no one's playing it right now, really overall. But I think Xerosik's plan, your opponent discards cards from their hand until they have 3 cards in their hand. This can be a toxic card if someone abuses it and that deck becomes popular, and it becomes meta. Maybe in like an Arbok deck. I don't. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I like the card. Thankfully, it's balanced as a supporter. Well, what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, I know when this first came out, everyone was like, "Oh my god, we got this card! It's gonna be the end all be all." Good card, bad card.
I think it's a good card. Is every deck gonna play it? No. Is it going to be devastating at the right times? Absolutely. Is it gonna completely change the meta? I don't think so. It's weird because it's like both a boost and a like devastating card to play against a control deck,
Yep.
given that they have 37 cards in their hand at all time. They gotta discard 34 of those. So that's a lot of resources.
Yeah. Could be nuts. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a player that's able to accumulating cards in their hand, whether it's Lost Box or Gardevoir, right? They go Iono to 6 and go like refinement, refinement, refinement. Take 2
Knockout.
prizes. They got like 11 cards in their hand. You go slap down his row 6 plan. They're just gonna look at you and be like, really? But at the same time, again, it's a supporter, so like you have to balance it with like you need to have a strong enough board behind it that you can afford to play it and basically get no personal value out of your supporter besides disrupting your opponent. So while there are in cards like Eerie have seen success, the problem is the row 6 a little bit is that you give your opponent that option. So say you're like you're playing against Charizard player and they have 7 cards in their hand because they choose Grasping Draw or whatever. So before you can go and use an Eerie and go hit their 2 rare candies, or a rare candy Ultra Ball or like hit their Super Rods or something like that. But then now the player, the opponent gets to choose those cards. So you can go and say, oh, okay, well I can afford to give up this, and I can go and keep my rare candy Charizard and Arvin, and they can still kind of do everything they want next turn, type of thing.
And keep my rare candy Charizard boss in my hand.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So like the fact that there's still some flexibility there is like maybe what holds the card back. But of course, if you can catch your opponent with a massive hand size, then it's gonna get you.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for our Shrouded Fable set review. This set is currently scheduled to be released on what's the date? It's the weekend before
August 2nd.
August 2nd. Yeah. So it's currently scheduled to be released on August 2nd. And why I said it that way, there's apparently some supply chain issues affecting Pokemon and their ability to get this set out on time. And specifically, the issue that is being targeted is the elite trainer boxes, which most people, like, if you don't know, this is um, a mini set. It's a special set. So when mini sets come out, we don't have booster boxes. So usually Pokemon players will gravitate towards buying either a booster bundle or an elite trainer box. We already knew the booster bundle wasn't coming out until September. But now, this week, we've gotten news that the elite trainer boxes will not be coming out until August 23rd, which for those of you that are not playing in the World Championships, and even like it does affect you some, but not as much, because like you want to play your cups, you want to play these cards. Basically, what that means is people have to open 3-pack blisters, mini tins, and promo boxes like the King Gambit Illustrator box, King Gambit, um, to get their cards. So like the supply is going to be a lot lower. And some of the examples I was given today from a local game store owner that I'm aware of says, hey, we've got so much budget to order these Pokemon cards every set when they come out. And we will order stuff that's more popular to players, aka booster bundles and elite trainer boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll order
Yeah.
more of that and less of the other product. So they're counting on that product coming, meaning these stores will have lesser product to sell to the public. The public, there will be less supply, and the demand is still remaining the same, therefore causing an issue to find powerful cards like Dusclops and Fezidipity EX. And if you want to play River Room EX, like it's going to be hard to find some of these cards specifically for the World Championships. So there's been some discussion on should this affect the World Championship? Should they make a change that says, hey, maybe, this set won't be legal for Worlds? Thoughts?
Personally, like they have a release date. There will be product available. Like, yes, like we might see another, COVID situation where people, the scalpers slash collectors catch wind and they, pull the, midnight target campouts or whatever, and the price
Scalping
goes way
situation.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because like product will be scarce because I'm sure Pokemon probably is like releasing the most like way more ETBs than the other products, but yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things where like even though again the Elite Trainer box is not getting released until now a week after the World Championships is scheduled to happen, unless they're pushing the official release date of everything, then they're gonna keep it legal for Worlds, is my perspective.
Yeah.
And while it's trickier for the 1,000 or so players that are competing to get that product, ultimately it's like there's too much money behind everything to say we need to make an exception or change the release date for these players, and more so it says these players are going all the way to Hawaii to play, they'll go and find those few cards that they need. And again, even though we're not seeing the biggest product with Elite Trainer boxes and booster bundles, I still think that there's enough of that other product. And hopefully the case here is that there's able to be that collaboration between collectors and players where, collectors do not care about their night stretchers or their Janine secret techniques or their, base or is Kiram like common or rare, or they don't care
Yes.
about their, yeah, they don't care about their uncommon Kirams. So they'll make those cards available type of thing. Now, if you're looking for like a full art Pheasantipity EX or something like that, or the secret illustration rare, maybe that's going to be way expensive to get, but hopefully a base one is cheap enough. And ultimately, I just hope that this doesn't affect any Worlds players getting cards that they want to play for the World Championships and not being able to play it because of these product issues. That's really my main
Yeah,
concern.
same. I mean, we live in the United States, which thankfully we have a lot more access to things. I don't know if this affects people outside the United States with their release dates. I mean, I think it does because the local game store person I talked to is in Europe. So seems to be affecting everyone, just depending on where you live and how remote it is. You kind of depend on your local game store. So I mean, my opinion still, I don't know my opinion yet because I want to see what impact this has, to Parker's point. If scalpers are now going to go, hey, buy all the product, raise the prices significantly, then yeah, then there's a case to argue, hey, this something should change. But I think for the most part, and like I said, there's only 1,000 players, or a little over, for the World Championships. If you're listening to this podcast and you have friends that are going to the World Championships, let them borrow your card. They'll give it back. Like they don't really, they'll pay you for it. They'll compensate you, but really, like they just want to make sure that they support your community, and give you a good showing for Worlds. So
Hmm.
hopefully this isn't a problem, and this is just a now a little bit of a story, but not a problem.
Yeah. But idea if you're a diehard Lost Fox player and you got a bunch of cash sitting around, you just get to Hawaii early, buy up all the Kirams of all the locals on the island, say, oh, there's no Kirams on the island, and then now you win the World Championship with your Lost Box deck.
Makes
Maybe,
sense. I
maybe
like
just
it.
throwing it out there.
I like it. All right, that's gonna do it for this week's episode. Thanks everyone for sticking around for the set review, and I hope you enjoyed the interview from PJ. We'll hear from him again. But this is our 1 year anniversary episode, guys. This is, wasn't as big as I wanted to do it right now for this week, but I got something in the books that I'm working on. Um, so 1 year, guys. This is our 26th week episode. If our bi-weeklies were still happening, like, how do you feel about that? Like, flew by.
It did. I when you mentioned it to me the other day, I was like, "There's no way, really."
Yeah, one
Yeah,
year.
it's been a journey and it's been a lot of fun and it's been cool to grow as a podcast and to just grow in the community and to enjoy it with all of with you two here, Parker and Eric, and then the rest of the
Yeah,
community as well. So it's been amazing. Thanks for supporting
yeah.
us for a full year.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a great year. Just to run through some fun analytics, we've had 1.7 thousand views in the last 28 days, and that, if you told me that number a year ago, I would have been like, "There's no, it's not possible. How did this happen?" So just thank you guys so much for all of your support. To the 400 or so subscribers. I love you more than the other people, but I still love everyone. If you're listening to this and you're not subscribed to this podcast on YouTube, please do us a favor, come out. It will help us a lot being able to keep this content going. Our goal is to hit 500 subscribers, hopefully in the next month or two. And we'll get a push towards that. But if you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed, it's free to do so on YouTube. Log into your account, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and we'll bring you some more content in the next 2 weeks. Thank you guys. Have a great week.